good afternoon or good evening, everyone. I should look at this camera, okay? We're not professionals. I mean, we are professionals in finance and in banking and in universities, but not really on TV, on broadcasting, so we're doing our best. Welcome, everyone, to this special slot of our Future You Week, which we named Raise the Bar, because that's really our objective, of bringing you our VIP guests in this slot. And we start exactly with Dr. Paulo Macedo, whom I thank very much for being here, for spending the time with us. It's a real pleasure, and you are definitely our number one choice for all these, for this event. And I will explain in a second why that is. And basically what we'll be doing here today is preparing cocktails with André Neff, who's over there. I don't know if you can capture him in the camera as well, who's a bartender and also an engineer. So that's a pretty cool and special CV, let's say. And you all had access as well to the ingredients that you are using. So this is also a workshop, something that you can do at home on your own. As you listen to Dr. Paulo Macedo tell us a little bit about his work, his life as a student a few years ago, who knows, and also his career path, how things evolved. Has everything been planned, or do things happen by chance? Let's talk a little bit about that, and also let's see if we can find some tips, some good advice for you as well. And let's hope you also have some fun at the same time as you learn, knowing a little bit more about this distinguished alumnus of our school. So that's the reason number one why we invited Paulo Macedo to be here with us. He's a distinguished alumnus of our school. He's also a professor here. He used to be health minister. He was the big boss in the tax authority. He worked in Millennium BCP. He started at Anderson, if I'm right. Yep. Has also experience in the private health industry, and currently is the CEO of the largest Portuguese bank, Caixa Geral de Depósitos. So he has a lot to tell us, I'm sure. And the reason why he's our guest number one is also because he is the best of our alumni ever, also in terms of his dedication to the school. And in his words, ISEG makes us feel really proud of being part of this community. So as we move next to Andrea to start preparing our cocktails and talk as we do that, you're actually going to watch a 1-minute film that Paulo Macedo sent us a few months ago when we were celebrating ISEG's 109th anniversary. Let's see if that happens.
Quando vão ver uma biografia à Wikipédia, há naquela coluna do lado direito uma referência ao sítio onde as pessoas estudaram. A expressão, como sabemos, é latina, alma mater. Quer dizer isso mesmo, a alma-mãe, o sítio de onde saímos e onde fizemos o nosso percurso. No meu caso, de mais de 20 anos como discente e docente, o sítio onde nos formámos tem uma carga muito própria. Nós podemos dizer hoje com orgulho que estudámos no ISEG. Temos atrás de nós várias gerações de economistas e de gestores, como sabemos. Começámos com uma aula de comércio em 1759, já andámos 260 anos. O fio condutor estará muito em breve nas vossas mãos. Conta-se que quando a velha ópera de Nova Iorque foi demolida em 1967, o maestro Leopold Stokowicz guardou um pouco de terra resultante da destruição para a levar para o novo edifício. Era uma forma de manter o espírito do lugar. A nossa missão, atuais e antigos alunos, é manter em permanência esse espírito. Numa altura em que temos menos liberdade de movimentos, é, e justamente por isso, importante sublinhar que a escola esteve e está presente na sociedade portuguesa. Nos mídias, na comunidade científica, na comunidade empresarial, nas redes sociais, nas aulas por videoconferência, no fundo, na opinião que conta. Tenho assistido com satisfação não só a essa afirmação, como tenho vindo a constatar o alargamento de contactos e de ligações a nível internacional e da noção do imenso caminho que há para percorrer. Numa demonstração clara que o nosso futuro passa também por um benchmark constante internacional. Na escola aprendi matérias relevantes. Conheci amigos para a vida, li livros que nunca teria lido de outra maneira, aprendi a trabalhar em equipa, a ultrapassar provas sistemáticas e a recomeçar de novo de 6 em 6 meses ou de ano a ano. Por isso, e por muito mais que Económicas me deu, estou grato e em dívida com a nossa escola. Obrigado.
Right, so we're sure you enjoyed watching the video and reading or listening to those words. And now that we have the pleasure of having you here with us, Paulo, can you share a little bit
Yeah.
about your experience with us?
First of all, thank you for having me here. Now everyone knows the reason I am here to hear all these compliments from our dean. So that was worthwhile just for that. So I don't know if we have time to questions. I will be happy to answer to questions. I have this school has been where I have worked for the most part of my time in my professional life. I studied here 5 years and I lecture here for 17 years. I never have been in for 22 years long. So I never have been in any other place 20 years or more. So I work, I don't believe in changing workplace each year or in 2 years, but I change significantly. But this is, as you mentioned, I work in the private in banking in the private sector. I work now in banking in the public sector. I work in the public administration as a tax commissioner. I was in the government in also difficult times. I don't know if there are any government in Portugal that don't have difficult times.
Yes, we're again
I
in
think it
difficult
is
times.
a pleonasm, but it is what it is. And I began my career as a tax consultant and as a professor. When I finished my degree here in economics, I applied in a contest, a public contest, to be a teacher, and I was selected. And at the same time, I went to work as a tax consultant. And economics once again marked my future life, because when you went to a consultant at that time, you went to audit, or you can you can enter as a tax advisor. I think no one in economics, when finish this course, this degree, feels that what he's looking forward is to work in taxes. But I have been I accepted the invitation for taxes because that allowed me to stay in Lisbon.
Okay.
Because an auditor would
travel.
go to travel all around
That's a good
the
reason,
country.
location.
And
Yes.
so because that was the only thing that was compatible with being a teacher here as economics.
That's very good.
And that I become more or less known in the area. Then I teach here at the beginning. I teach here management in the first year, in the first degree, and then I changed to lecture taxes. That was my job at the time, and that's why sometime later I was invited to tax commissioner, and being a tax commissioner, then that's the reason why I believe I was invited to other positions as a civil servant, or to serve Portugal, because all these things that seems that are not linked, but clearly they were linked.
Yes.
They were linked. And so I think a part of, and we will develop this during our cocktail, but a part was by chance. The other day, it was remembered by Professor Costa e Silva.
Yes.
The professor that prepared
the
plan for the government, with all the critics and with all the restrictions.
There's a vision there.
There's a vision and there's a work to be criticized. Yes, and absolutely. So I always appreciate who comes forward and who gives a plan in order to be criticized, in order to be completed, in order to. So I think it has value. But what I mentioned is that when he spoke of things by chance, he remembered where the phrase "by chance" came, and he remembered that it came from the gods. when the ancient told that something was by chance, they didn't believe in chance. What they believe is when there was not a specific reason, then it was the gods in the Olympus that
determined it.
And I think we all have in our career something that
Happened by
seems
chance.
something that by chance, if we are prepared.
If you are prepared.
If we are prepared, and there are a few things that I would like to talk to the students and to the others that Economicas have gave me, that was a network, a professional network, and but not only a professional network, is in the university where we can, and I think in the university, and later we come again back to school, that we make the friends for our life.
Yeah, it's very important.
We make some later, but
it's not the same as the ones you bring,
and the quantity is not for sure the same.
From
and the people that we were at the college, and that we spend nights studying, that we spend nights preparing ourselves, that the work that we have done in group prepare us for the future in a way that we don't believe when we are doing it. So what in this small description that I've made is the question of being prepared, and the question of chance, and the question of the network that we have, and the knowledge that we have in the market, or the knowledge that we have in the university, because we live in a very small world in Portugal.
Right.
And
you end up meeting everyone,
and people know what we have done, not always in a clear manner, but they have a perception of us, and that is.
And you develop a reputation.
And we develop a reputation, and I think I don't believe that we develop a good reputation if we don't have solid basis.
True.
So I think we have.
It comes also from education, right? From
that
your
comes,
own.
I don't believe in managers that know everything about everything. I believe in the managers that have a strong base, and then they develop, and then they adapt.
Yeah.
And that they learn again, and they are
able to continue learning.
Able to and have the. And they are sufficiently humble to go to classes again, and that is a thing that I promote to myself, and that I promote to the people that work with me.
That's another reason why we like you so much, because you promote lifelong learning and coming back to school and returning to school, and that everyone who works with you is supposed to keep on learning and formally studying again. The other thing for which you have a reputation, you might not know this, is for your like of gin and tonic. And that was the other reason why you were our #1 guest, because there is this reputation, everyone knows this in the market, like it or not, that you have developed this taste for gin and tonic, which also reflects even in your taste for poetry, which is something not known. And we are in a minute we'll go and join Andre, but we're not doing it right now, but maybe a little bit later after we prepare the cocktails. But this year, in like a press conference, you read a poem. It was already 2020, yeah? You read a poem, which in Portuguese is called a Nespra, and in English it's called the Loquat. It would be, if we translated it, which we have, yes, both of us. And it's a poem that actually comes from a book that's called The New Tales of Gin.
Yeah.
Yes. From a poet who wrote the first book, the Tales of Gin Tonic.
Mario Henrique
Leiria, yes, you know. My mother is a teacher of Portuguese, you see. So there was a lot of poetry in my life as well. So actually when I saw that you were in it, so there's poetry, there's gin, and now it's the right time probably for us to to go and taste it and prepare with Andrea, who knows best. Okay. So time we'll join you there, Andrea, one on each side to keeping the distances, right, because of the safety. And Andrea will tell us everything about what we're doing next, okay?
Okay.
Yeah? Right.
Thank you very much. So welcome to our ISEG bar. Thank you for your presentation. So to start, let's start with the Palmases Cocktail. It's a recreation of gin and tonic with gin, of course. Gin, it's the principal component. It's juniper. So let's do this.
Okay. So it's a signature cocktail that we're doing here
Yeah.
today.
Yes, I have
And I don't know how to prepare any of these.
Yeah,
so
I
would love
can
to.
explain.
I will
You can prepare it at home. It's very simple. We work with measures. So at home you don't have these pieces. So you can use
Or we do.
Yes.
Or we do.
Yes. I don't know, but
Or we do.
they can use the cup of coffee. It's 1 cup of coffee. It's more or less 5 centiliters. So we need 4 centiliters of gin.
You cannot forget there are large cup of coffees.
Yes. No, it's a small one. It's a small one.
It's a small one.
It's a small one.
It's the small
Yeah.
one, okay.
4 centiliters of gin.
Okay.
Then 1 centiliter of vermouth.
Okay.
Just orange drops. Ice. 3 pieces of ice. So let's stir very well. It's very simple. It's a gin and tonic with a touch of vermouth and orange drops.
Right.
And
So far, I like everything that you put in there.
we fill it
Maybe
with
not all
the
together.
tonic water with the help of the spoon.
Ah, the technique.
Yes.
Different kinds of tonic water make difference,
Yes.
and significant difference.
Yes, significant difference because our taste it's very sensitive of the power of the bubble. This tonic in specific have a small bubble. The another ones have the large bubble, and our taste is very sensitive to different types of bubbles and different types of skinning. It's the principal component of the tonic waters.
Okay.
I don't know if you already tasted
Yes.
this one. Yeah, you like it?
Yes, but I'm not an expert in different kinds of tonic water.
Yes.
So
Don't worry.
Yeah.
So for garnish, we put just a orange, and
Okay.
we can serve the first
Okay.
one.
The first one.
Yeah,
You build it like this.
yeah. So
You can add some things in this, some other ingredients if you like.
yeah,
So unfortunately, we don't have Paulo's favorite ingredient, which is zimbro. How's that called
It's
in
juniper.
Portuguese?
Juniper.
Yes, but it's in the gin anyway.
Yes, it's in the gin.
In the gin. So,
Yes, it
so we
is.
were
It's
careful
principal
enough on that.
component.
I like because it is intense, and it is a little bit bitter, but
Yes.
At the same time it have a good flavor in terms of citrus.
Yes.
And so that's the reason I like.
And you know, Portugal is one of the greatest producer of juniper. In Serra da Estrela, we have lots of juniper, and we are one of the great producer in the world of juniper. So for garnish, we put just a few beans of coffee.
Okay, as an alternative,
Yes, it's an alternative.
which is something that you might have at home.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's very
Please.
nice. Thank you.
I hope you like it.
Okay.
I prepare just a non-alcoholic cocktail.
Yes, we don't want people to say that we are,
Yeah.
we are, recommending alcohol consumption to our students or any of that. Not
They don't
necessarily, but
need.
it's after 6. So one drink is
Okay.
not gonna kill you if you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But we can also do a mocktail.
Yes, a
right?
non-alcoholic.
A
This
non-alcoholic.
we
drink.
use the different technique. It's shake.
Okay, so it's a different technique.
Use a shaker if you have at home. If you don't have, you can use a jar of sausage jar or something like that. Something with that can you you close it
With the
and
lid,
yes, and we can shake very well. So we put 3 pieces of ice inside of the shaker. You use a jam of the day. In this case, we use a grapes jam.
Okay.
You like it?
Grapes jam. I don't know. I haven't tried it.
Let's
But
try
I'm
it.
not trying it.
Let's try
But I
it.
assume I would. Yes.
Yeah, use 2 spoons, generous spoons of grapes jam.
Okay.
We squeeze 33 centiliters of lemon.
Ah, that I don't have. Like one of those
No, you can squeeze with the hands or something like that.
with the normal.
Yeah. That's 3 centiliters. In the creation of cocktails, it's very important the measures because it's the
It's been optimized.
yes, exactly. The good cocktail, it's not about sweet, it's not sour, it's balance. You can taste every ingredient inside of the cocktail. This
Right.
is a good cocktail. So
Okay.
30 centiliters.
Who would say we would be doing this in our lives, right?
At school.
Yes, at school.
At school, like officially recording it.
We can add a little bit of sugar if you want. This is liquid sugar. I can put just a few drops
Okay.
and
That's
close.
liquid sugar. It makes
Yes,
it.
it's 2 pieces of sugar, 1 part of two part of sugar, 1 part of water. Yes,
Okay.
but you can use normal sugar if you want. Just so we shake it.
Oh, this is a bit risky. Ah, the energy. Good. Mine is shaken.
Yeah.
Shaken or
So
stirred.
Not
yeah,
stirred.
Yours
Not
is
check.
shaken, not stirred, in my case. Yeah.
we put in a
Very nice.
cup and add tonic water. Oh,
Okay. That's nice. Very pinkish.
for garnish,
For garnish.
I suggest
No.
basil leaves
Ah, okay.
and
Very pretty as well.
ISEG
Very good.
colors
Okay.
with a straw.
That's
Okay.
very nice of you. Very good. Okay. Thank you so
I hope
much.
you like it.
Will you prepare a third one?
Yes, a third one with
Yes.
room.
So we can sit.
He,
as
know,
you-
he knows who is the dean. I get coffee beans.
Yeah, and I get the basil, and he knows.
So if
Cheers.
but
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you compare, your is
You-
much nicer.
You think mine is fancier? Yeah, that's the banker spirit.
Yeah.
Always thinking that the others, have done best and so on, but that's not. Okay. And now there are questions from the students. Okay, so if we have questions from the students, and then we will deal with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
So let's now. Thank you so much. Let's now look at some questions from the students. Maybe they have questions for Andre and not for us. Who knows? Okay, so let's see. There's a question there. Good.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay, so we're going to start with the Q&A portion. And the first question is, what's your best memory here at ISEG?
Best memory. Tell the truth, please.
Yeah. But I left. I finished my degree in 1986.
Nice.
So sometime, and I have very, very good memories of ISEG. I have splendid memories when I was a student, which I think is totally normal. I don't have any doubts that is the best time of our life. The only thing that is against what I'm saying is we don't have the same money that after. If we
Okay.
have a bit more money at the time, then it would be marvelous.
Perfect.
So it's just wonderful, not marvelous. But I think to have, we are the owners of our time, which when you work after is not the same thing. So if you want to study and study and study, you have a time to do that. If you want to go to the cinema, you go and do that. If you want to stay at night, wake, studying, you do that. If you don't want, and you have colleagues and you are meeting people and you are discovering new things, so I don't have any doubt. And when you work, the normal people have excellent time also, so it's not a thing that the times that I was a student. No, but it's the times when we are more generous with each other, when we are more open, where we are less static. And because then when we start to work, the competition is higher. I believe that the competition today is heavy at the students' level, and I don't condemn that. But the generosity and the share of knowledge and the share of lessons and the share of and helping each other was the best time to have that. So I have terrific times. I enjoy very much when the best time was not when I finished my degree, which should be a special event, but it was not a special event. I went to a discussion in June or July, and we made the last unit. We have a discussion, and the professor says our grades, and we get home, and there's no one to tell us that we have finished and that we have concluded 17 years of study. 17 years of study in a lifetime of a person is a lot. So that was not, it was a good moment, not the best moment, but the best moment were clearly the people.
Yeah.
And I think the knowledge. I read things, as I mentioned in the beginning, in the film. I read things here and I learned things here that I would not have learned, and that I would not know today if not this was not the school. And so that's why I mentioned that I'm grateful to this school. In my career, and I have a diversified career, as you saw. I clearly am a product of my parents and all the persons that I met on my way, teachers and so on, and friends and family, but clear also from this school. And I usually say, because my parents, because if they were, I am the fifth child of a family of five, so I'm the youngest. If it was today, I would not born.
No.
So
Yeah.
because
Yeah, you would not, yeah.
people are not
Having so many children.
I
No.
don't want to
Have more children.
to bother, or they don't want they have their life, and
they start very late.
So
having
and then they start more late, and so that would not happen. But so clearly, I have very good moments here when I was a student, and there was the best. And then, as a professor, I have the very good moments that every professor has, as transmit something that I felt it was important, and try to develop what some teachers call that the stars, because to develop the stars is very important as a student, but but those stars would be stars independent of the teacher. What is very important also is to develop the bulk of the class. And when you achieve that, then you are a good professor. You are not a good professor only if you develop stars, because they will progress anyway. And so I had that sense, and also come back to the school and have to the recognition from my peers and from the alumni of ISEG was a very significant moment, because you will see one day that you give a lot of attention to what your colleagues of today will say about you in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, because they know us. They know us better than our employers in the future, and we know them. So we know what are the ones that we should appreciate their position and their words, and what they want. But I think so. I have the fortune of having very good moments as a student, and they were the best. but as a professor, and then the recognition from my peers, and that is very good, and for contributing to
the school. Yeah, it's good. It's good to keep this connection, and we are very happy to do. I hope that's not COVID-19. That little cough.
Now,
when
when someone coughs,
it's like it's the end of the world.
No. The person have to show a pack of cigarettes
to make sure that everyone
it is because of cigarettes.
So
cigarettes
typical,
now are a good thing.
It's typical ISEG. It's tobacco. It's alcohol. It's no. I'm kidding. This was not really what I wanted to say. No, it's definitely not. We're not recommending any of that vice here. Definitely not. So I was surprised you didn't say the best moment was in the library. Studying long nights, preparing for the exams themselves. I was a bit surprised. Were you a good student?
I was a good student because I finished my degree with a good grade. I was the best student of the day classes.
Okay.
There was there was two other students that have a higher grade than me. They both study at night.
Okay, those were the old days.
But they have a lot of merit because they worked and they studied. So one of them is my friend and my colleague, and I only met him after we finish our degree, because he studied at night and in the day, which is Carlos Albuquerque, and we met only when we were both selected to be professor assistants here at the Economic.
And now both at the board of Caixa. Who would say things like this? These coincidences that happen through life, chance or
not coincidences, because
it's the way life evolves.
Because we have. In Caixa, of 7 board members, I nominated with the chairman and the others, but I nominated 7 members that as executives. 5 of them I never saw them before they were nominated.
Yeah,
so it's important to have the trace of the career of people. It's important to have the trace of our colleagues, but this is not in the future. This is not a question of friends. In spite, it is important to know who we work and to have references from an extended period, and not just for a short period.
Now to complete this section on your youth and your experience here at ISEG, do you remember if you had like a favorite subject? Was there a favorite?
My favorite subject was...
Do you still remember that? I don't remember.
I think it was tax for sure. No. I think no one's that finish here the degree is
in love with taxes.
Is in love with taxes, no. But the taxes have also their charm, because one of the actors that I used to quote is, taxes is what we pay to have. Is the price of civilization.
Okay.
So we pay taxes because we believe that we should have people should have right to protection. People should have right to common institutions that should serve the people that have more needs and less needs. And so I think taxes, as what we can discuss, is the degree and the intensity of taxes, and not so much the need of taxes. So I think the taxes have their importance, but clearly the subjects that I liked more were finance and marketing and human resources and so on.
So you are convinced you made a good choice when you chose management and not economics? There's a huge discussion always here.
I'm totally convinced.
You are totally convinced that management was the right.
I'm totally happy with my degree. And so I don't have that saying, if I thought at the time, then I would change. But I would like to also to have the degree in economics.
Right.
And someday, maybe, because I like a lot of macroeconomics.
Right. And you need it as a manager as well.
And I need it, and it's a subject that I like, but I don't have any doubt that I made the right thing. Just to tell you, when after I concluded my degree, the degree in economics and in management have 2 common years.
Right.
Now it has only 1. But at that
sure.
time, it was 2 common
common
years.
years.
And as I mentioned, I gave classes to the first year management. And so the others were the basic units like history, maths, and so on, and macroeconomics and introduction to macroeconomics. So I in the first year I taught the only unit for management, and of course I tried to convince all the best students to go to management.
To management,
and once I was very young, and so there are not always saying totally the right things, and I said in my class at night, and then you should go to have a career in management, because you have a lot of opportunities in companies, in enterprises, in small, medium, large companies, and so on, and that is a very concrete thing, and that you can realize yourself. And Minister of Finance and Governor of the Central Bank, there are only 2 positions. And then one of my students, which was Pinamora, that studied at night, after he finished the degree, and after he was invited to be a finance minister, he met me once and said, I was the one.
I was the, yeah, he was right.
I was the one, and he
right,
was a good student.
Yeah, but you're right. But yeah, besides the story, which is
And,
interesting, the
and
anecdote.
the question is, we have a lot of finance ministers, the last 2, and even
coming from here as well,
coming
with the
from the
background in
school.
economics.
And because I'm making an introduction to a book of a professor of law, and I was seeing this is the only school that gave to Portugal a president of the Republic.
Absolutely.
Besides Faculdade de Direito de Lisboa.
Yeah, it's true.
In the democracy.
In the democracy.
So this was the only school besides the prime ministers and the ministers of finance. So I think, so now that I have a better view, I believe that both degrees are wonderful,
are important and complementary.
wonderful, and I think they're. I like very much both subjects. So I think it's what you are willing and what you intend to do in your life.
Okay.
But I think if you go to a company and make your career there, what you can achieve and what you can deliver is also.
Okay, I think there are some questions from home as well.
Yes, students here are asking a few questions. So David asked, how is CGD dealing with the digital transformation happening in the financial sector?
Questions about the bank.
Any big changes coming up?
How is the bank, CGD, dealing with the digital transformation? Any big changes coming up? Yes.
Significant changes in CGD. CGD, all the banks and CGD in particular have a very significant challenge as the university, and as that was how to adapt to COVID and how to serve our clients. The banks and CGD were open 90% of the branches. So we always had 3,000 people working in spite if there was a peak, if we were better in figures, or if we never closed as doctors, as professionals of health, as fire workers, and so on. So the first thing was the bank had a very strong effort to have all the branches open. But we have even a more significant effort in allowing that to serve people that didn't want to go to the bank. And if even today, 2 years ago, major part of the people, the young ones and the middle ones, don't want to go to a bank. There was a research saying that young people prefer to go to to a dentist than to the bank, than to a bank. So even if it was true before these pandemics,
Right.
now we believe that is even more clear. And so it is for us, what we have made. We have put all our call center at home,
Okay.
which was the first call center to work completely
From
out,
home,
out
out
of
of
the
the
office.
bank.
We gave licenses and access to 5,000 of our employees in order they can serve the clients. In order we have activate all the part of and publicize all the part of payments, because what is important to a person is to have the guarantee that they can have money.
Yes, of course.
And so in the first days of the pandemics, we had small queues in front of the bank because the old people were afraid if there was going to be a scarcity of money or not. That passed, so we hacked, and that passed. And we developed clearly our digital profile, and we grew. We had benefit from our last innovation, that was the box. That, as you know, it is an open platform that allows you to have all the accounts and to compare the accounts of Caixa, or even if you are not a client of Caixa, Revolut, Millennium, Santander, whatever, in just one app, and also to benefit from the app of Caixa, which people say that individuals say that is the best app in the market. This is not publicity, because I only refer to data that are
has
clear.
evidence. Yeah, there's evidence.
And so, synthesizing, there was clearly a higher focus and on digital, and there is a higher perception of digital transformation of Caixa.
Yeah, it's good. So it's the new trends. And 2 more questions. Okay.
So the next question is from George, and he asks, for you, what are the key factors to build a successful career? What's some advice you give to current students?
Before you answer, let me just stress something else. Last week I was at Caixa at an event in Culturgest, and I heard Paulo Macedo say something that surprised me at first. He told the students it was, a ceremony to award some merit scholarships to students. And he mentioned something which is lots of people say in organizations, the best asset of any organization is its people. And that's wrong. It's not true that people are the best asset of an organization. It's not the people, it's the right people. So, and I think basically that's what this question is about. So what makes the right people? What can our students do to become the right people that you would hire, for example?
This statement can be a bit shocking. Of course, it is to provoke and not just speak of flowers and of the things that are in the newspapers. We have, and you have to know very well what is in the newspapers and what is in the magazines and what is science and what is theory and what is practical development. So when we speak, we have today a possibility of going down to have only coffee talks. And management is a science. Management has a theory, and management have practices. Management is, we can learn and then develop, and learn more and learn more and learn more. But we don't, I think we should not mess and what is social network, what is coffee talk, and what is we teach in the school. Everything is important, but at very different levels. Mm-hmm. So when I mentioned that the important, and I repeat this a lot,
I repeat this in Caixa, and as you imagine, this was a bit shock at the beginning. But the difference of value between the right people and just people is huge. And one of the problems of the organizations is that they don't recognize this. Because we try, the best organizations believe in meritocracy, and so they distinguish, and when they can, some organization give rewards, and by the promotions and so on, they can make a difference. But the difference of value creation, the difference of delivery, the difference of accomplishment is very, very significant. And so what I believe to be someone to be the right people for a job, first is to have the right skills. Second is to have a network, for instance, a network in the good sense, not because of cunhas, but because that you can relate to people. And for instance, I have a very good perception of the colleagues that I had here in economics, who is good for a certain job and who is good for another job. And so, and for instance, when you saw in the pandemics, when they in EMEM, the scientific lab for virology and so on, that is in Hospital Santa Maria, they Professor Maria Mota launched an appealing, say who wants to work with me, and a lot of people from the scientific community respond to her, and there was only because of connections and of the network, and in the very good sense. So I think the skills, I think the capacity of network, and I think the capacity of learning, and also some things that are very and you have to have the willingness.
Okay.
You have to have to not be accommodate. You have to have hungry. In the good sense.
That was an excellent answer. Yeah. The others were okay too. But this was absolutely. Before we move on to the next questions, can we just show a picture so that you guys at home also see? We have a little photo here, so that we can. And as you watch the photo, I'll have a sip of my drink to see what it's like. Yeah. So we have a photo of the young Paulo Macedo when he was a student here at ISEG. Look at that. How cool is that? I think this is something, I had never seen this. So I was impressed today.
Yes.
We can still recognize you, which is good.
The coats is for the 80s.
It's the 80s, right? Yeah. It's the 80s. Very stylish in the grass. No, we like the style in the grass.
Only at 20 you wear that, or when you are a bartender or something
if you are, no, there.
But our bartender is
talking about
much more
bartenders.
Distinguished.
Andre, so just a minute, Andre. While we were talking here, Andre prepared another drink. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because now I think we are going to taste this, and then we'll tell you how good it is as you watch Andre.
Cheers.
Yes. So this is the cocktail that we call Pirate Breakfast. It's with rum. It's very simple too. It's a Greek creation of daiquiri. It's a Greek creation with the ingredients that I can take the mask. It's better. It's a recreation with the ingredients that we have at home. It's composed with rum, a jam. In this case, it's a red berries jam, and just a little bit of sugar and 3 centiliters of lemon juice. It's very simple. The technique is the same of the non-alcoholic cocktail. It's the shake, and we serve in this great cup and garnish with lemon zest.
Okay. So thank you, Andre.
I hope you like it, the cocktail.
I'll try that one after this one. It was very nice. So I tried my mocktail.
Yes.
Okay, no alcohol here because I still have the whole week to go. But on Friday, what are we doing on Friday, Andre?
We put
We are doing stuff with,
Yes.
we are doing something
Bottles
with
in
the
the hair, shakers
we're
in the...
doing bottles in the air, he says. I'm not really sure that's happening. It's just not,
It's Friday.
It's not a promise that I'm keeping, no. But Andrea will do it, I'm sure. Okay, so I think there are some more questions from home. Yes? I have lots of questions as well, but please.
Yeah, we have another question. So from Elizabeth, she asks, what are your views on how the banking sector can contribute to sustainable development?
Thank you for that also. The first thing for the banking sector now is to contribute in a different manner to solve this crisis and to pass this crisis in a different manner than 10 years ago. There are some of you were very young, but the crisis that we have in 2008, 2010 in Portugal, it was characterized by two things. For several things, but characterized by two things that deepened the crisis. The first was the cut in public spending. And as you know, what we learn here at university is you should cut spending in a counter-cyclical way. You should not cut spending when the GDP is going down. You should make policies that can solve and that can regularize the cycle. So what we have in the last crisis is in adding the crisis, international crisis that we had the Portuguese government by the reasons that no one gives credit to Portugal. No one at that time, we could not finance ourselves. cut the public expenditure. But at the same time, the banking sector also cut the credit. Why? Because the banking sector in Portugal had no access to financial markets. And so he cut the credit because he didn't have enough money to finance companies. So what we have done, what happened in 2008, 2010, what happened was, besides the crisis, the international crisis, you have two cyclical acts, one from cut public spending and the other from cutting the credit. This time, why we are not passing so bad in this crisis in Portugal and in other countries is because we are doing exactly the opposite. Governments are spending more and are spending more according their possibilities. Of course, governments that have less debt, like German, are much more generous with public spending and supporting individuals and families than governments with large debts, like our own. But even in Portugal, there were a very significant and rapid action in terms of public spending. And responding to our question, the banks have capital, the banks have liquidity, the banks, because they have done their homework during these 10 years, have access to international markets and they can finance companies. So the first thing, and I'm not avoiding your question, is that nowadays banking in Portugal and in general have a totally different approach to our economy and to the sustainability of the Portuguese families and the Portuguese company. In terms of sustainable development as a whole, and even in a longer term, I believe that we have different fronts. We talk about a lot of green investments, and I pass the publicity, but I send people from
to our
Caixa
program, to our course,
to the program of
sustainable finance.
This faculty in terms of sustainable finance, because I think we need to learn, because everyone speaks about sustainable finance, but when you go to see very practical things, they are
no
not a lot.
one knows how to do it.
They are not a lot, so we need to learn with each other. But the possibility of issuing green bonds. It is in our vision. The possibility of having investments in our investment funds in companies that comply only with certain rules is something that we have special funds, and we have today, and that we commercialize green funds. And I think in the future we'll have much more of that. And also in terms of, for instance, one thing that no one would imagine is, for instance, Caixa Geral de Depósitos is already told the business community that is looking for another headquarters, because the other quarters that we have, which I think is one of the biggest buildings in Lisbon, it's not
efficient in
and
terms
not
of energy.
sustainable to a bank. We have done everything in terms of light, in terms of fuel, in terms of
energy consumption,
and so
but
on.
still,
But still, that is a very big structure to a bank, because a bank doesn't make sense to have 4,000 people at their headquarters. So the structures of a bank nowadays need to be smaller, linear, and that is not because of a question of fashion, but is because of the question what people are willing to pay for the services of a bank.
But at the same time, you need more distancing right now. So you have an argument in favor of more space.
Yes,
no, but there's also
that is not the
remote
problem, because
working at home, remote
because
work.
Each floor of
Things are
Caixa,
changing.
each floor of Caixa have 10,000 square meters.
Yeah, it's huge. It's unbelievably big.
So,
it's one of
but
those.
our vision is that we can share the building, and that with that we also will give an example of being sustainable. So in our branches, in our headquarters, but also in terms of the investments that we make available to people. And I will not say that in our credit decisions we have always this sustainability as a factor, but what I say is that that is discussed in each large finance that we gave.
Okay, we only have a few minutes left, and I want to ask you something, which is, would you prefer to end by reading a poem, or would you prefer to end with a question?
I think I will read the poem.
And what we'll do is the following. For those students who have I'm sorry that I interrupted you. Sorry,
problem.
That's typical me. I'm very sorry. I'll try to do better in the future. What we'll do is, for all those students who have their questions unanswered, who posed questions, we will have a special session later in the year, not like this, a different format, and we'll make sure that you are invited to that and that you get your answers from Paulo Macedo, if that's okay. We'll find a way of getting you to meet at some point. So I think that's a fair deal that we are making here. I'm permanently negotiating. It's part of the job, isn't it? It is.
Yes,
and then yes, please.
No, and we are willing to. We have recruited this year several people from the faculty, from maths, from management, from economy to internships that we will pass to normal contracts, the ones that that prefer, and that we will have the conditions. And so Caixa is on a downsizing, but at the same time we are recruiting hundreds of students. So that's a good way for us to meet again.
Yeah, very good, excellent. Recruiting. So culture is part of your life since a very young age. I'm sure you are a very spoiled person, being the fifth child.
Yes.
So you probably were very spoiled as a child. But culture has always been present in your life. Your father is a very well-known artist, both a poet and a painter. So, and you give a special interpretation to this poem that you have been sharing with us this year.
Yeah.
So feel free to read and interpret, if you like, in Portuguese or in English, as you wish, and we can deal with it.
I think I try not to say a lot of common things. Sometimes I don't. I cannot do that. But one of the things is I agree that someone who knows only about economy is very little.
Yeah.
So I think you should have interest for other things. I told to one of my colleagues that I come here and to know what do you think I should tell them? Tell them to read.
Tell them
To read and not the social media. Have time to read, because we can choose what we can read. We can choose very density dense things, very agreeable things, but I think it's worthwhile to read. The other thing, and these last minutes, is you are now entering, a lot of you are entering the school.
Yes.
And that is a milestone, and when we finish will be another milestone, but clearly you have to prepare to come again. And for myself, I have I put myself the obligation to each year to have a training abroad. Or in Portugal. I went to the last 3 years to 3 different places, and my colleagues have that discipline also. And even the board members that come and that are recruited, we have recruited, for instance, Professor Lindo from Technic, which was the Dean of Technic. He was recruited, and of course he has to have training in banking, because he is completely from another area, and he will be happy with that. And I think the poetry comes in the sense that there are a lot of things that is worthwhile that we have an interest on. And at the same time that you have the willingness to, and the determination to say, when you are a CEO or when you are developing a team, that your first responsibility is to choose the people that you want and the people that you don't want in your team, because that to be a manager is to choose. And you know that Portuguese people have a lot of difficulty in choosing and make options, because we all try to pass between the drops of the rain. So not all, but 99%. And so I think that must cope with other things. And so in Caixa, I remember this poem because of Caixa, because what you expect from a public bank is that we are quiet. Don't mess, don't make waves. Be quiet, don't mess around, let the others do. And that is what a lot of people would like when we are in a major challenge of our lives, because we cannot just say that we are changing and that the change is very rapid, and then hope that nothing happens. And so to have a conscience of that, I pick a poem of Mário Henrique Leiria, the Counts of Gin Tonic, which is a coincidence or not. And that is, I think it is better in Portuguese, but I will try to read it in Portuguese. It is a Nespra. In English, the Lockwaite. A Lockwaite was lying in a bed, very quiet, watching what happened, very lonely, staying. Then an old lady entered the room and said, "Oh, a Lockwaite," and gloop, it ate it. This is what happens to Lockwaites that lie silent, waiting for something to happen without messing around and just waiting for the others. And I read this because I think this is what can happen to companies, namely the incumbents. You know that the incumbents in each area of business are always being challenged, and we have the story of they are totally surpassed by the others. But what I think also can happen to students that they are not, that active, don't have the anger, that don't have the intensity, that don't have the interest and that they don't have the vision of what they can be. And so this is
The message.
The message. And thank you for having me.
And thank you so much. It was wonderful for me, at least. So I hope you all enjoyed this. Tomorrow we have another guest. I can't promise the same quality, but we'll try
For
to
sure.
keep it. We'll try to keep raising the bar. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And now you have a session with the regulators, right? For a change. Thank you.